This conference will now be recorded.
So as I mentioned in the last video about parallel lines, we're going to continue with perpendicular lines. So we already know so parallel lines have same gradient, and we have a linear function which has standard notation of y equals mx plus c, where m is the slope and c is the y-intercept. So suppose we're given a task to draw two functions. So first function is y equals 2x negative 1, which is already given, and we draw it. And we're given to draw another one, which is negative 1 over 2x negative 1. What do we notice about these lines? We notice that these lines are perpendicular to each other. If you don't understand what is perpendicular, perpendicular lines are lines that create 90 degrees. So they intersect at 90 degrees. So they're perpendicular and they meet at right angles. Suppose I'm given another example. So my line is given, which is negative 1 over 4x plus 2, and I have another task to draw 4x negative 2. So if I draw these two lines, again, I see that they create 90 degrees, they're perpendicular to each other, and they meet at 90 degrees. So we have two pairs of lines that are perpendicular to each other. But what do we notice about these two lines? Think about the gradients of each pair of the lines. Multiply them together. So for first pair, I have 2 and negative 1 over 2. If I multiply them together, how much would I get? Yes, exactly 1. If I multiply negative 1 over 4 and 4, the same, I get negative 1. So we see that the gradients of two perpendicular lines multiply to make negative 1. There's a notation, there's a definition about this specific perpendicular lines. So we're saying that if two lines are perpendicular to each other, that means that gradient of one is negative reciprocal of the other one. Suppose I have a gradient negative 2, and I want to find the perpendicular line to it, and I want to find the gradient of it. So I understand that if they're perpendicular, that means the second gradient will be negative reciprocal. So what does it mean to have negative? It means that the opposite sign. So in this case, I have negative 2. So the opposite to negative 2, or negative 2, will be positive 2. And I'm making them reciprocal. So I'm changing the places of numerator and denominator. So 2 as a fraction will be 2 over 1. So if I change the places of numerator and denominator, I will get 1 over 2. So negative reciprocal of negative 2 will be 1 over 2. Perpendicular lines. So perpendicular lines have gradient that multiply to make negative 1. One of them being the negative reciprocal of the other one. So as we've done exercises on parallel lines, we can also make different types of examples in perpendicular lines. These are mostly commonly seen examples in GCSE and IGCSE exams about perpendicular lines. So you're given one line and you want to find a perpendicular line to it or parallel line to it. So let's focus on perpendicular lines for now. So find equation of the line which is perpendicular to y equals negative 1 over 4x plus 1 and passes through 521. So let's do this example. Y equals negative 1 over 4x plus 1. And it passes through, I guess it was 521. So this is my first line. I want to find my second line. So gradient of this line, so let's say that this is my M1. So my M1 is negative 1 over 4. I know that perpendicular lines, they have gradients which in multiplication give me negative 1. So I should find another number which in multiplication with this exact number will give me negative 1. Or I should find negative reciprocal of this number. So let's do both. So M2 will be negative reciprocal. What is negative reciprocal? It is negative sign, so it means in this case opposite sign. So it will be negative, negative, and reciprocal of 1 over 4, we know that it's 4, so the answer will be just 4. So just understand that in this case that if it's negative, then it will be positive. If it's positive, this will be negative. But they're always with opposite signs. And if one of them is a fraction, the other one will be a whole number, or it can be fraction as well. So 1 over 4, negative 1 over 4 times M2 should give us negative 1. So M2 will be negative 1 divided by negative 1 over 4. Negative, negative will cancel each other out, and this will be just 4. So in both cases, we get 4. So I understand that my second line will have gradient of 4, so 4x, but I didn't say anything about the c. The c, we don't know c, so we cannot find c by knowing the perpendicular line to it. We can only find m. We can only find gradient. So in order to find the line, I just have to plug in this point here because I know that it passes through this point. So this is my x, this is my y. So 21 equals 4 times 5 plus c. So 21 equals 20 plus c. C is 1. So y equals 4x plus 1. So this is perpendicular to it. Do you agree that these two are perpendicular? I think yes, because they have same if I multiply their slopes, it will give me negative 1. So let's do a more complicated one. Suppose let's do question 3. Okay, find the equation of the line which is perpendicular to 2x equals 8 minus y and passes through 16, 47. So let's clean this. So 2x, I already forgot the question, 2x, 8 minus y. And it was 1647. So first of all, I know that my line should look like y equals mx plus c. This is the standard notation of it. This is not in standard form. So I should make y subject of the formula. The easier way to do it is just to make y to the other side and 2x to the right. So y will be positive, negative 2x plus 8. So this is standard form. So this is my first line, and I need to find the second one, which is perpendicular to it and passes through this point. So the m of this line will be negative 2. So I need to find m2. I know that it should be negative reciprocal. So if this is negative, this one will be positive, and reciprocal of 2 is very easy to find, which is 1 over 2. Or negative 2 times m2 should give us negative 1. So m2 will be negative 1 over negative 2, which is just 1 over 2. So y equals 1 over 2x plus c. Again, I have no idea about my c by knowing just the perpendicular line to it. I need to find c by plugging in the point. So 16 is my x, 47 is my y. 47 equals 1 over 2 times 16 plus c. 47 equals 16 and 2 is simplified. This is 8. So 8 plus c. C will be 39. So y equals 1 over 2x plus 39. And this line and this line will be perpendicular because they have their gradients multiplied together as negative 1.